Somewhere in an office in Austin, Texas, a marketing manager opened her laptop on a random Tuesday and found half her to-do list already done. Not scheduled. Not drafted. Done.
The research was pulled together. The report was formatted. The follow-up emails were sitting in her drafts folder, ready to send.
She didn't do it, and she didn't ask anyone to do it either. That's not science fiction. That's just Tuesday in 2026.
For years, we thought of artificial intelligence as a chatbot. You type a question, it types back an answer, and the relationship ends there. You were the one doing the thinking, the planning, the clicking. The AI was just a very smart search bar.
But somewhere in the last 12 months, that quietly changed, and most people haven't caught up to what it means yet. The shift has a name now. Engineers call it Agentic AI. And the difference between that and what came before is the difference between a calculator and an employee. A calculator waits for you to press buttons. An employee looks at the goal, figures out the steps, and goes and does them. It can search the internet, open files, write code, fix its own mistakes, and hand you a finished result instead of a suggestion. Here's what makes this moment different from every other tech headline you've scrolled past. This isn't a lab demo anymore. It's already inside the tools millions of people touch every single day. Coding platforms are shipping AI that doesn't just autocomplete a line, and it takes on entire multi-step engineering tasks and debugs its own output before a human ever looks at it. And organize are quietly routing that work through systems that never sleep, never ask for a raise, and never miss a deadline. And the companies building these systems know exactly what they've unleashed. That's why 2026 has also become the year of the guardrail. The same month these tools got dramatically more capable, some of the most advanced models on Earth got dramatically harder to access. Governments started asking, who gets to use frontier AI, and for what purpose? And for 8 days this summer, one of the most talked about AI systems in the world simply vanished from public use while regulators and the company that built it sorted out an export dispute. Then, just as fast, it came back online. Blink, and you'd have missed the whole thing. But it proved something unsettling.
The most powerful AI on the planet is no longer just a technology story.
It's a policy story, a national security story, and a story about who controls the future of work. Meanwhile, browsers, the most boring, unchanging piece of software most of us open 50 times a day, are being rebuilt from the ground up around AI that can click, scroll, and complete tasks on your behalf, right there on your screen, watching what you watch. So here's the question nobody's really asking out loud yet. If your job is a series of tasks, and AI can now understand a task, plan around it, and finish it without you standing over its shoulder, what exactly is left for the human in the room?
Some people will tell you, this is the end of work as we know it.
Others will tell you it's the biggest opportunity of your career if you learn to work with these systems instead of against them.
Both of those things might be true at the same time. And what happens next depends entirely on something almost nobody is paying attention to.
The detail buried in how these AI agents actually make decisions when no one is watching.
That detail is where this story gets genuinely strange. And it's exactly where we're headed next. Deep inside every AI agent released in 2026,
there's a decision-making process most users never see, and it explains everything about why this technology feels so different from what came before.
It's called a reasoning loop.
Instead of spitting out one instant answer, the system pauses, checks its own logic, searches for missing information, and only then acts.
In plain terms, it's the first time software has looked something like judgment instead of just prediction. And that single design change is why coding assistants can now handle tasks that would have taken a human engineer an entire afternoon, catching their own bugs along the way. It's why customer support systems can read a frustrated message, understand the emotional tone underneath it,
and route the response accordingly, instead of firing off a generic script. This isn't a party trick.
It's a fundamental rewiring of what software is capable of, and businesses noticed almost overnight.
Think about why this matters so much right now, in this exact moment in history. For decades, automation replaced physical labor. Robots on assembly lines, machines in warehouses. But those systems could only do what they were explicitly told, one narrow task, over and over. Agentic AI breaks that rule. It can be handed a goal instead of a script, and clean up this quarter's expense report, or find every customer who might cancel next month. And it figures out the how on its own.
That's the leap. We've gone from teaching machines to repeat to teaching machines to reason. Take a small business owner named Bobby, running a shop in the Midwest with 3 employees and no marketing budget.
A year ago, Bobby would have needed to hire someone just to keep up with social media, respond to reviews, and track which promotions actually worked.
Today, an AI agent handles the research, drafts the posts, tracks the numbers, and flags what's working, and Bobby just approves or edits. That's not a hypothetical. That's the exact shift happening across small businesses all over America right now, quietly, without headlines. But here's where the psychology gets interesting, because the way these tools spread has almost nothing to do with how good they are.
It has to do with trust. Humans are wired to resist giving up control, especially at work, where competence is tied to identity.
Nobody wants to feel replaceable. So the AI companies that have won this year aren't the ones that built the flashiest demo. They're the ones that figured out how to make the handoff feel safe, keeping a human in the loop. Showing its reasoning step by step, asking for approval before it acts. That's not just good engineering. That's applied psychology, built directly into the product. And that brings us to the part of this story that should genuinely unsettle you.
Because if an AI agent can reason, plan, and act, with less and less human checking along the way,
then the real question stops being, can it do the task? It becomes, who is actually responsible when it gets something wrong? A drafted email is one thing.
A financial decision, a hiring recommendation, a medical scheduling call, that's an entirely different weight to carry.
And in July of 2026, that exact question stopped being theoretical.
somewhere between a policy meeting in Washington and a server room on the other side of the planet, the world got its first real preview of what happens when a government decides an AI system has become too powerful to leave unchecked.
And pulls the plug, even for 18 days, on tools millions of people had already built their work around. What happened in those 18 days, and what it revealed about who really controls the future of your job, is exactly where we're going next. Those 18 days in the summer of 2026 didn't make headlines the way a stock market crash would. There was no siren.
But for the businesses, developers,
And creators who had quietly built their entire workflow around one of the most advanced AI systems on the planet,
It was a gut punch. One day the tool was there, powering their coding, their research, their content.
the next, it was gone, pulled offline by an export control dispute between a government and the company that built it.
no warning most people saw coming.
And when the dust settled and the tool came back online just as suddenly, the lessons stuck around long after the outage ended. Access to the most powerful AI in the world isn't guaranteed. It's a privilege that can be switched off by people who never touch your keyboard. That should change how you think about every AI tool you rely on right now. Not with fear, but with strategy. Because the winners in this new era aren't the people who found the single best AI model and built their entire life around it. They're the people who understood something deeper, that the real skill in 2026 isn't picking the right tool. It's learning how to think alongside any tool, so that when one door closes, you're not standing there helpless.
So here's what that actually looks like in practice.
Stop treating AI like a vending machine where you put in a prompt and hope for a good result.
Start treating it like a junior teammate you're training.
Give it context, correct its mistakes, ask it to explain its reasoning before you accept the output. That single habit, in asking why instead of just accepting what,
is the difference between someone who gets replaced by these tools and someone who ends up running them. Diversify what you depend on.
If your entire workflow lives inside one AI company's ecosystem, you're one policy decision away from a very bad week.
Learn the general shape of how these systems work. Agents that plan, reason, and act.
and you'll be able to move between tools when the landscape shifts, because it will keep shifting.
And maybe the biggest mindset change of all is this. Stop asking whether AI is going to take your job.
Start asking which parts of your job were never really about you in the first place. The repetitive research, the first draft nobody loves, the scheduling nobody enjoys, and let the machine have those. Then double down on the parts that actually needed a human this whole time.
Judgment. Taste. The ability to look at a messy situation and know what actually matters.
The people who learn to work with it always have, and that hasn't changed, not even in a year where machines learn to reason.
The tools are getting smarter faster than most of us can process, but the humans who stay curious, who stay adaptable,
Who treat every new AI breakthrough as a chance to learn instead of a threat to fear.
those are the ones who come out ahead every single time. History has tested this idea.
So if this opened your eyes to what's actually happening behind the headlines, hit that like button, subscribe so you don't miss where this story goes next, and drop a comment telling me this. Has AI already changed how you work?
Or are you still waiting to see what happens? I want to hear your side of it.